This all came about after witnessing a Shahada in Monks Park Mosque at the end of Ramadan 2010 in Wembley. After the Shahada, we went outside and we were talking to a group of children or young adults from St. Ruth's Estate. And a couple of them were mentioning that 6 years ago, there was just nothing but trouble and strife and crime and everything. And then the dawah started. And, literally within a period of 6 years, things have just turned around. So we wanted to investigate it. And the result is what you see here.
Over the past 20 years, invisible lines are pushed back and forth as gangs fight for control of areas from Ladbroke Grove to Stonebridge in northwest London. The youth in these areas were embroiled in this culture, with children as young as 14 carrying guns for attack as well as defence. In 2 years, police investigated 48 shootings, 10 fatal. Today, a change has occurred. The weapons are being laid down and the war lines are blurred as young gang members are finding a new path to follow. That is Islam.
I've seen a lot of changes in the feuding between the younger generation, because when I first came here, obviously because I wasn't from the area, I wasn't aware of any of the confusion that was really going on. But the longer I stay in the area, I realised that Church Road, Stonebridge, Monks Park, all these areas, even though they seem to be the same area to me, they have war lines. Basically, they can't interact into each other's areas. But the longer we're here, Masajid open in Stonebridge, the Masajid open in Harlesden, one's open just by us here. And you find all the youths, they're hearing about Islam, and also they're seeing us who have come into the deen not far from themselves, confident in this new life we're living. We're not interested in what's going on the road. And so it's a question they have to ask. They're asking themselves, what's this all about?
I think of the ayah in the Quran that has words to the effect of the life of this world is like amusement, pure amusement, like sport and play. And, when I look back now on life back then, that's exactly what it was. It was just amusement and sport and play. And the thing about it is that we actually hurt innocent people to get what we want.
I used to be a lost soul myself not long ago from this time. I met a man who gave me some words which I took on board. He said, life is not just for the taking. There is payment to be paid at the end.
I didn't actually think that I could change. I didn't believe for a minute that I could change. I thought I was going to die in the game on the street, or I would just never change. I just thought it would be enough to be spiritual. Early influences of religion were from Rastafarianism and obviously Christianity, where there's a bit of a clash. So a need to search for truth and find out where will these holes come from and get some explanations rather than just sort of blind following.
There's no time. If you see a man drowning, you either save him right there and then, not in saying the changing of the heart is in our hands, but you have to show him that this is actually very serious. It's not a thing where you got next year and you can think about it. This is something you need to take on board and sit down and think about now, because I could leave you now and die. And that's as serious as it is. We could all walk out of here, finish talking, and die. Because it happens all the time.
I've come from no education. I've come from being shot at. I've come from burying more friends than I can remember. Seeing people die. I've seen around 5 people die.
The payload comes after death. What are you going to do when you die? What are you preparing for that trip?
I had a conscience. I wanted to change. There was times when I would do things just for the money, get the money, count the money, stash the money, and then just sit there with a mad, guilty conscience. So I was praying that I wouldn't go to hell. I was praying that I could find a way where I could get enough money. I don't need to do this anymore. And then I can live like the citizen, the normal citizen who just works, comes in, no police on his door, kicking off his door, frightening life out of his mum or anything like that. No fear of a life sentence or long-term jail sentence. I was, I'm not afraid to say it. There was fear in my heart. I didn't want to go out like that.
It's just peaceful, peace of mind, knowing what life is about. And when they hear us, obviously, we all have problems in life, and we can't say yes because now we're Muslims where life is free of problems. But it's easier for you to handle your problems if you know what your life is supposed to be about. And that's basically what we find going on in Halsden. People are now turning to Allah because they know it's haqq, it's the right way, it's the truth. They see it in other people's lives, whether it be their children that have become Muslim or their friends who have become Muslim have changed, or people that have come into the area and shown them a different way of actually trying to survive without destroying yourself and your community.
I was trying to change my life. I was trying to come onto the right path and give up all the old stuff that I was doing, the bad stuff that I was doing. But I didn't really know how to pray. I didn't have the words, and I was asking God to show me a way to pray. And I was actually coming here to buy a drill weed, went into the block behind me, and I just walked past a poster, and instantly the words sort of stood out. All praise is due to the Most High God, the most merciful, the most gracious, the most merciful. And, the way the prayer was structured, it sort of said everything that I needed to say. And it was obviously in English. So I wrote down that prayer word for word, and I started to pray that prayer in my life every day as much as I could. And I could see the changes that were happening for me, even though I was on the street, even though I was doing badness, I was trying to get away from the badness. I could see the guidance and the protection that I was getting. And it just so happened that when I started to read the Quran, and I opened the Quran on the first page, that prayer was there on the first page.
I used to wander around seeing men in white robes talking languages which I did not understand. One day I met one who spoke to me in a language which was friendly. Hello, do you know anything about Islam?
What most people won't tell you is when in the beginning of the decade, a lot of Muslim groups and organisations that we see now talking about dawah, they never really wanted to do any dawah in Halsden because most of them were too scared to come into Halsden. The first people I saw doing dawah, first person I should say, was Brother Mohammed Kaja, who used to give dawah Hyde Park Corner on every Sunday. Then he used to give dawah in northwest London, places like Harrow Road, Halsden, Willesden and Kilburn. Then there was a brother who reverted to the deen. His name is Brother Umar, who used to be an ex-boxer. He used to see other groups and organisations having stalls and preaching their ideologies. So he came up with the idea of brothers on Quran and Sunnah using the same methodology to give dawah to the communities, especially in inner city communities. So basically, with his initiative and with the brothers that he hooked up and he met with, he encouraged brothers from Halsden to set up a store and to give out Islamic literature.
You always go back to the prophets for examples, and the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was the first Muslim, if you like, if you're not going to look into the Ibrahim time or whatever, he was the first one. And imagine if he kept quiet about it. Imagine if the Sahabas of the time kept quiet about it. It's just not the done thing. You have to spread the word in order to make this world a better place for you and your children.
But Allah shows His mercy to all of us every day. And some take it on board and some don't.
Yeah.
It's up to you if you want to see the mercies of Allah. Because we're seeing them all the time. But those who accept them and take them into the heart, He raises their iman.
Amazing question, amazing words. I'm glad you asked me this because I need to say this. I'm only sitting here in front of your camera to communicate Allah's blessings to other people, to mankind. I was a secretive person. When you're from the road, you're secretive. You don't like attention. You don't have to tell people what you're doing or what you've done. Okay, so it's very hard for me to actually talk about these things. But the reason why I do it is so people can see Allah's blessing manifest in me. This is nothing more than, you know, Allah's blessing, Allah's mercy, Allah's miracles in my life. You know, I asked Allah, you know, I needed to change and I wanted to change and I failed miserably every time. I tried to be a Christian. God knows how many times I've tried to be born again. I needed to change. I wanted to change. I knew I needed to change, but I just couldn't just change. So I asked Allah, you know, I need to give my life to you. Which is the right way? He directed me to Islam in a way that you cannot argue with. I asked him how to pray, and I asked him to guide me towards Islam, or guide me towards the truth, the right way. And he gave me Surah Al-Fatiha, found in Stonebridge, written in English, not a mention of Allah, not a mention of Arabic in the translation, just pure English. And I prayed that prayer for nearly a year. Months I prayed that prayer until I opened the Quran and read the first page in the Quran and found that that was the first page of the Quran, the first book of the Quran. The prayer that I found to be so complete and so helpful as a non-Muslim was the first book in the Quran, the first chapter in the Quran. I didn't need to ask any more questions. This is what Allah had guided me to. And when I took my Shahada, all questions became answered.
So this way Allah Jalla wa Ala said, تبارك الذي بيده الملك الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. Explain this one, Tabarak, in English. Tabarak. Yeah, Allah Jalla. Because I tell you my English.
They say we have created what? Life and death.
Yeah.
To test who is best indeed. This is Islam. Accepting that Allah has created life and death to test who is best indeed. What is the best deed? To say, La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, and then what? Be steadfast in seeking the pleasure of your Lord. I used to be a lost soul myself not long ago from this time. I met a man who gave me some words which I took on board. He said, life is not just for the taking. There is payment to be paid at the end. The payload comes after death. What are you going to do when you die? What are you preparing for that trip? I used to wander around, seeing men in white robes, talking languages which I did not understand. One day I met one who spoke to me in a language which was friendly. Hello, do you know anything about Islam? I said, yes, but it's not my time yet to be a Muslim. The man smiled. He gave me a lift and a number. When you're ready, my door is always open. Come for me. It will be my pleasure to be your brother. This is the reality of a Muslim. Spreading that which you love so that other people might be lovers of the same thing, the truth. Jazakumullah. Dawah is the life source of all Muslims, Akhi, because the dawah, we give nasiyah to each other, we give dawah to non-Muslims. When you give dawah to non-Muslims, what does it do? It raises your iman, Akhi. It reaffirms what you believe. Because anytime you're speaking about Allah, you walk away from this, subhanahu wa ta'ala, you walk away from it feeling, subhanallah. Because you don't understand. You always walk away from it thinking, like, it opens your heart to the truth of which you believe. Anytime. So when you give dawah, selfishly, it's more for yourself than anybody else. Serious, Akhi, it's more for yourself.